Hello, welcome to part one of this mini series on mystical empowerment in this new era. So today's topic is what the heck is going on with the energies of 2020? Okay, so we know what has happened up until this point before, but I'll go through a little overview of what has happened, but then what we're going to be going through, what we are going through. I also pulled a few cards for some guidance at the end, which I'll share. So yes, I don't know how you're feeling right now, but I'm sure everyone is feeling something given this year. And I want to start out with something that was really interesting to me about this year in particular. I learned this from Molly McCord, an amazing astrologer. You should check her out. The planets this year in particular are either moving very quickly or very slowly, like the major planets. So what that does is change the way we perceive time. So I know myself and a lot of people I've talked to have been like, what is time? Like it seems to, like things seem to be happening very quickly, but then at the same time, like really slowly or not at all, and then things will change really quick. So this I found to be a really interesting point to this year is that it's true. Time, the way we're perceiving time has changed profoundly, and one aspect of that has to do with the planetary movements, and that some of the planets are actually just moving faster than they normally have in our lifetime, and then slower than they normally have in our lifetime. So that was a really interesting fact. And I want to also preface 2020 with the age of Aquarius. So we have been, I'm sure everyone has heard this term, we have been transitioning and entering into the age of Aquarius since the turn of the century, 21st century. And, but it is this, because the ages are so big, it's 2100 years in an age, an earth age, world age, that it's not just like one day we're in one age and one day we're in the other age. So we've been transitioning into Aquarius. So this is just to bring up the point that 2020 didn't come out of nowhere, even though it may have felt like it did. We have been transitioning into this age of awakening consciousness, of really, gaining sovereignty, caring about each other, building technology. Aquarius is the technology ruler here, and using that, we've been building that. Just think of since 2000, since now, the last 20 years, that has been happening. And you can also reference the growth in the health and wellness and spiritual industries, and you can just see the interest growing within that 20-year span. And then even look back 10 years and 5 years, it's compounding in a way. And so there is this awakening happening within us, knowing that there's more, there's kind of a veil being lifted, and there's power that we are being called to step into in ourselves to connect with others and help. Like it's this intertwining. So it's coming into the self to be able to be of service to the community, to the collective, but you having to come into the self first. So that's what 2020 is really bringing up, is this like coming into the self, like especially with quarantine, especially with all of your plans rearranging, crumbling, changing, shifting. What is consistent? Not much, except you. So we have been really asked to, and really forced to, look at ourselves and where we are at. So the other thing is that since 2012, we have had higher frequencies coming into this earth that has been building. So this is also something that has been building up to 2020. It's not just like it feels this way, and we'll talk about why. But there have been some precursor energies that have been building up, and yeah, so just be rest assured that this isn't the end of the world. This isn't, and also like ages and changes, like this has happened throughout history, major changes. So it's really feels intense because it is, but we have been knowingly or unknowingly building up to this point, so we can handle it. You can handle it. I can handle it, even though I feel like sometimes I can't. But we have this foundation, even though if we're not aware of it. So let's talk about, what do I have on my notes? January 12th. And so it begins, January 12th, 2020. This was the Pluto-Saturn conjunction in Capricorn that everyone was talking about, and a lot of astrologers predicting some really intense stuff happening, which it did. So I'm not going to go deep into it, but Pluto, transformation, Saturn, discipline and transformation come together. And it's this scenario of, okay, we're going to transform, and not in like a Pisces way, but in a Capricorn way, which is like, okay, day after day after day after day, putting in the work, consistency, sustained effort, not overdoing it, not underdoing it, really just like going for it consistently. So this is an energy of really, and then transformation Pluto is like tearing it down. So you have Pluto, which is tearing it down, and then you have Saturn, which is really, in Capricorn too, really just, okay, let's build this back up. Let's build it back up. So that was the pulse that was set at the beginning of the year, which was it's been over 40 some years since those two planets have conjunct. So it was a big conjunction. There is a lot of Plutonian energy going on this year, conjunctions with the major planets and retrogrades and all sorts of stuff. So major themes that Pluto has, like we talked about, is transformation, death, rebirth, transformation. This cycle, it's like the end of a cycle, the beginning of a new one. So really shedding. So I'll give you 3 words: shedding, aligning, transforming. So those are really good words to keep in mind as an overview of Pluto during this year, and our part of our purpose during this year is to really deconstruct, to shed things that no longer serve us, to align with our higher calling, with our soul, with our authenticity, with who we really are, who we really feel deeply inside connected to, and then transforming, so going through the process, which is this year. August, and we have we have a Mars. I'm not going to go into everything, but I just wanted to mention this one because the second half of the year is still going to be intense. August 13th, we have a Mars-Pluto square, so that can be very, like, there can be outbursts and some aggression, and it's hard to know, and then there's a lot of Aries-Mars action happening until the end of the year. So this is all just to say that what we're being called to do is really, it's self-care, grounding, because we want the action that Mars and that Aries, like, we want the action to be there, but we don't want it to be reactive. We don't want it to be super detrimental or violent or harmful. So this is where that comes into play of like grounding in yourself, in your truth, still speaking your truth, still doing like everything that you feel compelled to do in this world, and you know, grounding in your heart. And then I'm just going to touch on the December 21st Jupiter Saturn grand conjunction, which a lot of people have been talking about. It's a sense of relief. So I'm going to describe what we're going through in terms of like, I feel like I'm going to describe it in terms of like a toothpaste tube. So like what we've been going through this year is like, we've been in the tube, and now this year, 2020, we're in the neck. So we're being squeezed through the tube, and on the other side, you'll be able to like cleanse and be of service to humans' teeth. But really just that notion of we're in a constricted phase. We are in a constricted year. This year really is not comfortable, and it's not supposed to be, but it just isn't. So there is, at the end of the year, Saturn Jupiter conjunction is really cool because it's only once every 20 years that these planets go into conjunction, but the last 300 years they have been conjuncting in earth signs, meaning very like materialistic, like us drawing resources from the earth, building from trees from the earth. You know, we've used the earth, like think of the Industrial Revolution, we've used the earth and her resources in many ways over the last 300 years. And thinking also has been very like in that kind of more just more, I want to say like not necessarily grounded, but just structured kind of way, and possibly limiting. At this point, I think some of us feel limited by the structure that conjunction has had in earth signs over the past 300 years. So now, which is really important, is that the conjunction that's happening is happening in Aquarius. So that is an air sign. And Aquarius is like community, revolution, coming together, utilizing technology and our interconnectedness to progress and to help society, to help each other, to really figure out and reconstruct systems that benefit all of us. So this sets the pulse for the next 20 years. But I should mention it's till 2158. I'm missing the date exactly, but for the rest of our lives, this conjunction will be happening in air signs. So it's not like in the next 20 years we're going to go back to an earth sign. This conjunction will from now on be happening in air signs. So this is going to be something that we are getting used to and settling into, but by the time that conjunction hits, we are going to be like entered into this new phase of this Aquarian age, of moving forward, the pulse of the next 20 years, of like settling into it. And there's like so much cause for hope in this. Like this is exciting. And I feel like I talk to, you know, other people who are really like, you know, lit up by what is happening, because there's so much potential, and there's so much potential for equity, for justice, for us to heal, for us to speak, for us to be seen, for us to be heard. There is so much potential for our interconnectedness to really grow. So that is what the rest of the year looks like. And then dripping into 2021, we're going to feel more settled in this. It will still have challenges, but by the summer of 2021, things will be a lot more calm than they are now. Let's see what else I had to talk about. Yes, so really this year, detox and deconditioning from the past. Detox and deconditioning. So this is like a really baseline year where we are given the really beautiful opportunity to just reconsider everything and detox from it and decondition and like allow ourselves to transform into, you know, something that maybe we couldn't even imagined. Something that came up too was knowing, like, we're in this year where you weren't, like, I think no one can say they are the same person they were before 2020, and we're still changing. So you also are not going to be the same person that you will be in another 6 months. And that's really exciting, and I can see how it's very ungrounding. On my next video, I'm going to talk about that. But there is this, like, we're in the thick of it. And you've made it this far. I'm telling you, you are doing it, and you are doing it right in whatever way you're doing it. So yeah, so this time is really, you know, this is transformation. No one's coming out unscathed here, but in terms of that, it's more like transformed. Like, we are going to have so much more than we had ever thought possible of ourselves and of each other. So that's really exciting. Let me see. Oh, I wanted to talk about also the frequency. So this has been happening for a good 10 years or so, but the Schumann waves, which measure the frequency that the Earth is emitting, they have been progressively spiking and getting higher and higher and higher. And this causes, I mean, you could see the way that the Earth is reacting to it and the way that we are reacting to it. So our bodies are literally holding frequencies that they've never held before. And that can take an adjustment. You know, like, that's what we're going through right now, is we're adjusting to these new frequencies that we've never experienced before. And those frequencies are what is awakening consciousness. Those frequencies are what is allowing us to see more clearly, to shed things, to expand, to feel, to be messy, to just like try things, to not try things, to reassess. We are miraculous creatures. We are so multidimensional, and we are able to handle this. So I would just really want to drive that point home, because you can handle it. And really nourishing, that's something really big that came through, was just nourishing yourself and knowing yourself. In what ways can you nourish and know yourself this year? And in which ways, when you do that, in which ways can you also help someone else? And it doesn't have to be in a big, you know, you always you want to do that from a full cup. So in what ways can you step up and nourish yourself and fill up your cup so that you can be a part of this revolution, so that you can be a part of this new age, so that you can be a part of things that your heart and spirit want you to be a part of and serve. And I wanted to talk about the Aquarius Leo polarity and axis, which I listened to Natalia Bentz's podcast this morning, which if you haven't listened to her podcast, is really great. And she talks about this, and I really was like, oh yes, of course. So with all of this Aquarian energy, sometimes it can be really ungrounding, and Aquarius is like Saturn and Uranus, and it's an air sign. So this can also cause a lot of mental disruption. This can cause a lot of mental disorder and, like really a lot going on in the mind. And I think, a lot of us have experienced that, especially if you're an empath or a highly sensitive, intuitive. You have been noticing like, wow, there's a lot going on up here now, which is why it is so deeply important to descend. Like, we are in an ascension process, but part of that is to descend into the human form, into our flaws, into our bodies, into what is, into the present moment. That's something that I personally, I'm always practicing. It's not easy for me to be in my body. As a Pisces with a lot of Aquarius placements, I tend to be up here. So I have to practice daily embodying and coming into my body. Aquarius Leo. So with all this Aquarius energy, Leo is the polarity. So that is kind of like the medicine to Aquarius, the counterbalance. And Leo is the heart, is the sun, is ruled by the sun. Leo is creativity. Leo is the inner child, playfulness, joy, like being seen, being heard, showing up, and just like following what lights you up. So bringing that Leo energy to counterbalance this age. So taking the medicine from Leo and really being like, okay, how can I like be confident in myself and creative, and how can I be seen? How can I be passionate and follow what lights me up? And then direct that, in terms of what's happening on a global scale, which is Aquarian themes of coming together, creating a new world together, restructuring society, helping each other, standing up for each other, standing up for justice. Excuse me. And really looking at the Leo energy to help us in that polarity and in that aspect of how we are moving through this world in this era. So let's see, what else did I want to talk about? The other thing that I wanted to talk about was that this year in particular, especially because of all these energies, the astrological energies, there are like the quantum potentials of this year are so expanded. Meaning that like you can manifest and you can tap into things and you can like really jumpstart things super quickly, and that can be for good or for bad. So like if there's some shadow like coming out and playing through, it can just happen really quickly. Or if there's something, like that you're really aligned with, you're really passionate about, and you're manifesting, that also can come through really quickly. And the quantum potentials to also connect to other timelines, other dimensions, other beings are very expanded right now, which is probably why a lot of you have been experiencing heightened intuitive experiences and dreams, messages, sensing things, becoming more sensitive. There are just portals opening up right now, and especially in this year. So working with those can be really great. And it just takes a lot of awareness to know like what you're transmuting, where you're going, what you're connecting to. And in general this year, like the 3D glue is like getting unstuck. So this binary, the linear, it has to be this way, the authoritarian, the very materialistic, we're seeing it. We're seeing it fall apart. We're seeing capitalism and like, what the heck? So it's really a profound time to be living in. And when we see the 3D glue come unstuck, what we're also then being able to see is the 4th and 5th dimension, 4D, 5D, which is unity consciousness. So many of you, especially if you've had a meditation practice during this, will probably feel like you slip into that consciousness really easily this year. And yeah, that's my, I could go on for a long time, but that is my recap of what's going on in 2020. So at the end of the year, we are going to have this relief. There's going to be a lot of hope. There's going to be, for 2021, we are officially kind of like settling in. This in no way means that we're going backwards. This is not what's happening. What's happening is that we're settling into where we are at. So it's less traumatic, and we're like in this conjunction really moving forward together. And really during this time, it's really aligning, shedding, nourishing yourself, getting to know who you are and what your soul purpose is, what your mission is. I think Molly McCord said this also on her podcast that I listened to, is that many of us are just so ready to connect to our soul purpose, to our higher calling, to a mission. I know I have felt that way since the beginning of this year, and even entering the threshold into 2020, I've just been, wow, I feel like now is the time. And it's you know, of course it's circumstantial, but it's also energetic. Like, I totally feel aligned with soul purpose, and to that is what I will be doing from now on. So that's really exciting. And then I pulled 3 cards, which I just thought were amazing. First card, well, I'll just show you this is the first card that I pulled. Of course, transformation. Things are changing at a deep level. Cellular deep healing is happening. Okay, that's self-explanatory, of course. The other one is Beaver Spirit, which is laying a solid foundation. So important right now. So like coming back to your ground level, like, what do I need to thrive? What do I need to survive? What do I need to survive and then thrive? What can I do to set myself up for success in all aspects of my life? And that's what we're all doing this year, is reassessing, relaying down foundations. And then the Wild Woman came up too, which is so beautiful because she is non-conformity. She is the connecting to the truest essence, the authentic. She is this like powerful being who represents freedom. And I think we all know that freedom has been a huge theme this year, whether it's been addressed through the systemic racial injustices, whether it's been addressed through us having to go into quarantine and not having freedom. freedom and stepping into your authentic essence, your authentic voice, having more time alone, you know, or at least at home to spend, to get to know yourself. So thank you for watching. I hope that that was helpful. I am Jen. I'm an energy healer, an intuitive channel, artist, and empowerment guide. And tomorrow I have coming up the energy tools to stay grounded for this time. And the soul journey, cosmic healing, and embodied soul purpose program is going to be opening later this week. The wait list is open now. If you want to be the first to know when all the details are dropped, the link is in the bio, or you can DM me. And also, if you have any comments or questions based on the information in this video, just let me know, and I'm happy to talk more because this is always so fascinating and enriching to me. Thank you.